الله. كيف حالكم؟ I am Manal الدوسري, medical intern, graduated from Imam University. Today, inshallah, I will present to you the fetal membranes. It's a very easy and nice lecture, and inshallah, you will understand it very well after my presentation. So, we will start the lecture. First of all, we have the fetal membranes. What is the function of these membranes? It provides protection of the fetus, also nutrition, and what do we mean by nutrition is including the oxygen and the nutrient to the cells. It will pass from the maternal blood through the umbilical cord to the fetus, passing through these membranes. Also the excretion of the waste product, carbon dioxide, all of these are waste that should be excreted from the fetus and from the fetus outside his body or her body to the mother, so the mother will excrete these waste products. It will pass usually through the arterial and venous system through the umbilical cord. So moving on, this photo is very important. You should know that the important subjects that I will mention now. So we have the connecting stalk over here, which is colored in pink. This is the amniotic cavity. Cavity معناها تجويف. So we have here multiple cavities. The most important ones are the amniotic cavity, the smallest one, and the yolk sac. Okay, this is the yolk sac and this is the amniotic cavity. Also we have the chorion. This is the chorion, or also called exocelomic cyst. So these are the most important things. I need you to know it so we could pass and understand our lecture easily. So moving on. So what are the fetal membranes? They are four membranes. The amnion, or the fetal cavities, or I think cavities. The amnion, the chorion, the yolk sac, and allantois. So we will point to them in the pictures over here. So this is the yolk sac, the white one. And this is the amniotic cavity. The cavity contains amniotic fluid in which the baby, let's say, is lying within it and swimming within it. Okay. In picture A, this is at the beginning of the pregnancy, let's say the first trimester. However, here, this is in a late stage of the pregnancy, let's say the third trimester. So as you notice the difference between the first picture and the second, here we can see that the yolk sac is not presenting here. However, the amniotic cavity is the biggest cavity. It contains the amniotic fluid. This is the placenta, which provide blood supply to the baby. It is the connection between the mother, the fetal and the mother circulation. And this white thing is the uterus, absolutely. Okay, so what's written here is the amnion. So the amnion is containing amniotic membrane. So this is the amniotic cavity. As we said before, the amniotic cavity is lined by epithelial cells, a layer of epithelial cells. It forms what we call amniotic membrane. This amniotic membrane is formed by amnioblast. This amnioblast, its main function is the secretion of the amniotic fluid, and we will talk about the amniotic fluid later on at the end. Okay, so this is regarding the amnion. Moving to the chorion. The chorion, or the yolk sac, the chorion. Okay, just let's move here. Where is the chorion? This is the chorionic cavity, the big one. This is the amniotic cavity, as we have discussed before. This is the chorion. So the chorion, it is formed by extraembryonic mesoderm and the trophoblast, including both syncytial and cytotrophoblast. So let's move to the picture here. So this is the extraembryonic coelom or chorionic cavity. It is formed by this layer of cells, including both syncytial trophoblast and cytotrophoblast. The third layer or the third cavity is the yolk sac, as we have seen here before, and it is this one in this image. This is the yolk sac. Finally, the allantois. Allantois is a small extension of the yolk sac. It's let's say it should present here in the stalk between the yolk sac and amniotic cavity, and between the chorion. It will be presented very well in another image. I will go through it later on. Okay, so don't worry about the allantois. Moving on. So the allantois is a small diverticulum that develop from the dorsocaudal part of the secondary yolk sac and extend into the connecting stalk. So the allantois is a small extension of the yolk sac or small diverticulum developed from the yolk sac and extend into the connecting stalk. This is the connecting stalk that I have mentioned before. We have the umbilical cord passing through the connecting stalk. So this connecting, from its name, it connects the fetus to the uterus or the placenta. Okay. During the second month of pregnancy, the urachus stop growing and become obliterated to form median umbilical ligament. So we have some structures in the during the embryogenesis or development of the embryo. These structures have some function for a temporarily for some period of time. After that, when it has no importance, it have done its function and we don't need it anymore, it will be obliterated to form a ligament. Okay, one of these structures is the urachus. It will stop growing and become the median umbilical ligament. So the yolk sac, it passes through many stages of development. A primary yolk sac, then after the fetal growth or the embryogenesis, it will become a secondary yolk sac, then finally definitive yolk sac. So in this picture, we can see it is written as a secondary yolk sac. You should know just that it passes through some stages, okay? Okay, moving on to the fetal membranes and the umbilical cord. As I told you before that I will show you the allantois in another picture. So this is the allantois, this yellow extension or yellow diverticulum. As we said, it is an extension from the yolk sac. Okay. Okay, let's explain this picture. As we see, this is the fetus still growing. He's maybe in the 4th, 5th month based on the development that he reached till now. This is the amniotic cavity. It is formed by the amniotic membrane, or mainly, to be more specific, by the amnioblast, which secrete the amniotic fluid. And here, this is the chorionic cavity. Okay, this is the chorionic cavity. This is the yolk sac, which is the third cavity that we have mentioned. And this is the connecting stalk. As I told you before, the connecting stalk, it connects the fetus to the placenta and the mother. The circulation of the mother and the baby are communicate through the connecting stalk, and to be more specific, through the umbilical arteries and veins. So if we took a cross section from this connecting stalk, we will see this picture. So what do we see in this picture? We can see the allantois and the umbilical vessels. Okay, we will pass through this information later on. Just you should know it now that we have 3 umbilical vessels, and this is يعني the same section but after a period of time, maybe 2 to 3 months after the development of the baby. This is how does it look. However, the most important thing you should know in this picture, what I have said in the beginning, this is the fetus, amniotic cavity containing amniotic fluid. This is the amnion or amnioblast. This is the chorionic cavity. This is the yolk sac. This is the connecting stalk. It contains the umbilical arteries and veins and the allantois. This is the most important information you need to know. So moving on to the amniotic fluid, what is it and what its importance? We will talk about it now. The amniotic sac, it contains a fluid in which the fetus is suspended. As we said here, this is the amniotic cavity. It contains a fluid in which it will suspend the fetus. Also, it provide the fluid, it provide a protection to the fetus from any blunt trauma. Let's say that the mother is pregnant, for example, in the 4th month, and she have fell down from a stair or fell down from a height, and there was a blunt trauma to her abdomen. We are very worried, we will be very worried about her health and condition, and also about the fetal health. So this fluid will act as a cushion or as a pillow that protect the baby from any trauma that may happen accidentally. So the amnion expand greatly, and after folding of the germ disk, it will surround the embryo. This expansion and growth will lead to obliteration of the extra embryonic coelom. So the growth of the amniotic cavity will lead to the obliteration of the extra embryonic coelom. Let's make it clear through this image. So here we have the amniotic cavity. At some point of time in the pregnancy, the amniotic cavity will expand greatly and it will occupy this space. So this will lead to the obliteration of this cavity, which is the extra exocoelomic cyst, or also called extra embryonic coelom. Moving on to the functions of the amniotic fluid, as we have said before, it provides protection from the jolts, it allows the fetal movement, it prevents the adherence of the fetus from the surrounding tissue, it acts as a medium for excretion. As we know, every human, he should urinate. Also the same thing is happening in the fetus. So whenever a fetus or an embryo is urinating or excreting fluid from his body, it will be within this amniotic cavity. So this amniotic fluid is formed by the urine of the fetus. I hope it is clear now. During birth, the amnion form a bag full of amniotic fluid, which help to dilate the cervical canal. So the cervical canal dilation is an important factor during labor and delivery, and based on it we will proceed either through spontaneous vaginal delivery or maybe through cesarean section. So what helps us for the dilation of this cervical canal? It is the amnion. Also, it keeps constant temperature around the fetus. We know it's important for any human to keep his body temperature, the core body temperature, within the normal limit. This fluid will help us keeping the temperature constant for the fetus to grow very well. So now some of you may have this question: how this fluid came? What is the source of this fluid? So we have two main sources of this amniotic fluid. It's by the secretion of the amnioblast. As we have said before, these are the cells forming the epithelial layer of the amnion, of the amniotic membrane, and also from the fetal urine and fluid transported by the maternal blood. So the amnioblast will secrete a clear fluid, also the fetus will urinate, and both of these fluids will form the amniotic fluid. These are the major sources. So we have a normal volume for the amniotic fluid. Normally or ideally it should range from 700 to 900 milliliter at full term baby, at the 9 months age. However, in some pregnancies, for some reasons, either related to the mother, to the baby, we could have either an excess fluid, amniotic fluid, or we will have a deficiency or abnormal low amount of this fluid. If it is low amount, we call it oligohydroamnios. Whenever we will say that this lady have oligohydroamnios if the volume of the fluid is less than 50% of what is expected. And usually the major cause for oligohydroamnios is renal agenesis. So for example, let's say this is a pregnant lady at 9 months of pregnancy. She came to you in the clinic and you have done ultrasound, you have measured the volume of the amniotic fluid and it was 500 or 400 ml. So it is very low, it is less than 50% of the expected volume. So we will tell her that she had oligohydroamnios. So also we should know that the most common cause for oligohydroamnios is renal agenesis. As we have said before, that the fetal urine is a major source for the amniotic fluid. However, if we have renal agenesis, means that there is no development or abnormal development of the kidneys, there will be no urination, and we have missed one important and major source of the fluid. So it is a logical thing. The other case, when we have polyhydroamnios, it means that there is excessive fluid. It may exceed 200 ml, 2 liters, which is the double of the normal range, due to anencephaly or esophageal atresia. Also, one of the common causes of polyhydroamnios is diabetic mother. Either she is type 1 or type 2 diabetic mother, or having gestational diabetes. So these pregnant ladies having diabetes, they are more at a higher risk of developing polyhydroamnios. And when you study gynecology, you will see that any diabetic mother, we should deliver her before 39 weeks. Why? Because she is at risk of developing polyhydroamnios, and we don't want any complications either to the mother or to the baby, so we should deliver her as early as 39. We shouldn't wait till 42 weeks as in any other healthy lady. Okay. Moving on to the umbilical cord, اللي هو بالعربي الحبل السري. So the umbilical cord, it extends from the fetus up to the placenta. We know, all of us know the placenta. The placenta is a tissue that is responsible for the connection of the fetal circulation with the mother circulation. We have a lot of blood vessels over this area, and here within the umbilical cord, we have 2 veins and 1 artery that will deliver the blood to the fetus. It's very important and vital for the life for the normal growing of the embryo or the fetus. But the umbilical cord, it has 2 umbilical arteries. Sorry, I said 2 veins. I was wrong. It has 2 umbilical arteries and 1 vein. This is a very important point that you should and you must memorize it. The umbilical cord, it has 2 arteries and 1 vein. You can remember it as easy as this way. We have artery and vein. which one is more important? The artery, because it will deliver the oxygen. It usually, we know always that the artery deliver the oxygenated blood. So we have two arteries and one umbilical vein. Okay, also for the role of the arteries is more important, and it carries oxygenated blood. There is some يعني في لكل قاعدة شواذ، مو بكل artery شرط انه يكون محمل بدم مؤكسد عشان بعدين ما تتلخبطون، بس خذوها قاعدة عامة. الارتري أهم من الفين، فعندنا 2 umbilical arteries and 1 umbilical vein. بس مو بشرط أساسي أن كل artery should have oxygenated blood and each vein should have deoxygenated blood. Some conditions it will be vice versa. Okay, this umbilical cord or these vessels are covered by Wharton's jelly to protect the blood vessels. So the fetus is surrounded by amniotic fluid for protection. The umbilical vessels are surrounded by Wharton's jelly for protection also. Its length, the length of the cord, is about 60 centimeter, and also it is covered by the amniotic membrane. So amniotic membrane is lining the amniotic cavity, and also it extends to the umbilical cord. So moving on, this is the same picture, just we will emphasize more on the umbilical cord. So we will repeat, this is the fetus, this is the amniotic cavity containing amniotic fluid. Its normal value from 7 to 900 ml at full term baby. This is the amniotic membrane. It is formed by the amnioblast, which secrete the fluid. This is the chorionic cavity. This is the yolk sac. The cavity here is the yolk sac, and here we have a connecting stalk. It connects the fetus with the placenta. Through this connecting stalk, we will have within it the umbilical cord. It contains 2 arteries and 1 vein. Don't miss it. 2 arteries, 1 vein. And here through the yolk sac, also I think it's important for the intestinal for the intestine. It will grow rapidly and will يعني it will grow outside the body of the fetus over here, and then it will be rotated and will go back to our body. Okay. Here what's important also, just repetition. This is the connecting stalk. It contains 2 arteries and 1 umbilical vein. This is the allantois. This is a cross section. 2 umbilical arteries, 1 umbilical vein. The same as here. This small yellow one is the allantois. Okay, the umbilical cord. What are the contents of the umbilical cord? We will have a vitelline duct and vitelline vessels, the allantois, intestinal loops, and 4 umbilical blood vessels. Later, some structures of the primitive cord will disappear. So whenever we have this word, a primitive, anything primitive, it means that it is a primitive. يعني معناها أن حاليا في مرحلة مؤقتة، بعدها بيصير permanent. طيب primitive يعني في أشياء بتكمل معنا when we grow up، وفي أشياء لا, it will obliterate or it will disappear. Okay, so what are the structures of the primitive cord that will disappear? The loop of the intestine will return to the abdomen, as I have explained to you. Here, this is space in the yolk sac cavity. There will be protrusion of the intestine through the sac. Then it will grow up rapidly. It will be rotated, and then it will come back. It will go back to our abdominal cavity. This is the first thing. The second thing is the extra embryonic coelom is closed, and we have mentioned this before, as we said that at some stage in the pregnancy, the amniotic cavity will grow up rapidly, and it will obliterate the extra embryonic coelom. The third thing is the allantois, yolk sac, vitelline vessels, all of them will be obliterated. It will do its function during the pregnancy when the fetus is growing in early stages. However, at the time of the delivery of the baby, these structures will be obliterated. And finally, the right umbilical vein, it also will disappear. Moving on, we could have some abnormalities in the umbilical cord. It will be either extremely long cord or short cord. As we said before, its normal length is about 60 centimeter. In some cases, it will be either extremely long or short. And in some cases, we will have a true knot of the cord. Knot يعني عقدة. So as you can see, this is a free umbilical cord, but here we will have a knot, and this is the extension of the cord. So all these are abnormalities. In case we have extremely long cord, it will be we will have يعني higher risk of cord prolapse، بمعنى انه يلتف الحبل السري حول العنق حق الطفل، وبعدين نضطر to deliver the mother through C-section not through vaginal delivery. ليش؟ لأنه ممكن يختنق لو ولدناها طبيعي. Short cord also is a problem. True knot, this true knot, the problem here is that we will obliterate the blood vessels, the umbilical arteries and veins, so the fetus will have no more blood supply. The tissues will be hypoperfused. So if we didn't يعني act urgently, we may miss the life of the baby. Finally, we are at the end of the lecture. We should just mention and know what is the developmental how I can say it, some important stages of development of the fetus that will happen during the 3rd week of pregnancy. The first one, during the 3rd week of pregnancy, we will have a primitive streak and node, a notochord, which is part of the the spinal cord and the neurological system, central nervous system. We will have also the 3rd germ layer, derivatives of the intraembryonic mesoderm. We will have the neural tube, the heart tube, and we will start the beginning of the folding. Okay, however, in the 4th week of pregnancy, what will happen to the fetus regarding its development? There will be development of the neural tube and the crest. So here we have only a notochord and some the beginning of the development of the neural tube. However, in the 4th week, there will be neural tube and neural crest, and they will be developed more and more. Also, we will have continuous folding. So the folding started in the 3rd week and continuous up to the 4th week. Also, there will be development of blood vessels, the otic vesicle, optic vesicle, and olfactory placodes. The otic vesicle هذه هي بداية حاسة السمع أو الأذن otic. The optic يعني بداية تكون البصر أو العين. Olfactory معناها الشم، بداية تكون الأنف. So we will have these sensations as well as the blood vessels. So that's the end of the lecture. I hope I made it very clear to you. You could ask me if you have any question. These are my references. Thank you for listening.